Hello, happy Monday to you. Here we are coming to you live from the Lake Ozark Real Estate of the Art Studio. My name is Samuel Trapp. It's going to be a good Monday today. Once again, nobody can figure out what the hell we're supposed to do on the weather, and they're certainly not following my well-laid instructions at all. You know, my instructions have been out there for a while. I demand warmth. What is all this nonsense? Who wants to freeze their little doodads off? Nobody. Well, especially me. And so I'm a bit bothered that you have the air conditioner on one day, and then you don't shut it off, and you wake up in an ice cooler with frost hanging from your nethers and breath visible in your bedroom. It's nonsense. But we don't know who's in charge, but whoever it is, they are not running it according to standard. I spent the when did I leave? I left Wednesday afternoon after a fantastic meeting with some state reps in the Capitol building, and met with a friend in what's the name of that little place where the gas stations and you're crossing 70 on your way up to Mexico if you ever wanted to go that route. Kingdom City is what it's called. And they've screwed up all that interchange. They got, I don't know if Columbia's running the planet or what, but now we have to have the very creative and highly frustrating and irritating interchanges. If you had lights that worked, you wouldn't have to spend the money, but nobody ever can do that. So we're putting in all these, and I don't care. I like traffic circles, but the traffic circle concept, you know, many people they have no clue. Do you know what they call those things? Just so you know, you ever get in Qatar, they're everywhere, and you go over Europe, there's quite a few of them too. And they are there, they are called there the King's Circle. You know why? Because the person wearing the crown's in charge. If the person is on the already in the traffic circle, he wins. Okay, he has the right of way. This is a simple concept, but the larger the lane numbers in the traffic circle itself, the bigger the horror story for those that have no idea what they're doing, trying to enter in, like Chevy Chase. Look, kids, Big Ben, there went again, and he can't get off because he's jacking up all the traffic because he don't understand what's going on. Even if you're in the inner lane, you know, I got smacked by some kid from Sri Lanka. And his English was non-existent, and basically, I was coming off of the traffic circle in my little car there, and he smacked into me with a great big truck that he was driving, transporting God knows what building materials, and smacked me all up. Smashed up the car pretty good, too. And he was attempting, from the far right lane, to continue straight. 3 lanes in a traffic circle, you don't get to go straight. You know, truck or not, you're bigger, rules apply. And I got smacked up pretty good there in that little traffic incident. Not my fault. And there they got to pay the damages instantaneously. You got to get your money together or they can be collected. Anyway, that wasn't the topic for today. Starting out with figuring out how to drive in foreign countries. You know what the best rule for driving in foreign countries is? Don't. Just get in your Uber, get in your Yandex, get in whichever taxi service that's going to cart you around. Just be done with it, okay? I traveled this past weekend to see some horse races. You know, it was really cool. Belmont, I think it was called. What was the name of that thing? And I did... So we did a couple of bourbon tours. That was fun, and I got some awesome photos. Had a great time going solo. Stayed in a large sort of mansion house that a group of friends got. I was able to do my sauna plans are underway, friends and neighbors. So, but anyway, we had a good weekend. Drove back yesterday from Kentucky, and that was a good drive. Stopped in Mount Vernon, Illinois. Get this. So we're looking for some place to eat. There's nowhere to eat. There's two cars, 7 people in our little crowd, which is about half of the people that went, right? And we were looking for something. The other crowd had either left early or left later, who knows? But they're all off to Columbia, Central Missouri, other place, Jeff City, whatever that people are traveling to. And somebody picked a restaurant in Mount Vernon, Illinois. Now, having grown up in Illinois, having gone to the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana, I often am struck by how desolate a lot of Illinois is in the old heartland, with people being, I don't know, maybe everybody's leaving, but boy, that Mount Vernon was depressing on the outskirts driving in. Anyway, we ended up, through whatever means, at the airport. So there's an airport, little tiny, what do you call it, regional sort of airport. And you go in the front door of it, and I swear to God, the place was packed. And guess why? Easter dinner. They had a buffet line in there that was reasonably good. I'm not a big buffeter. I'm a Jimmy buffeter, but the buffet kind of is not conducive to living small, as it were. There's a lot of living large going on in Mount Vernon, Illinois, and wow, the entire town was there. The town looked. I mean, seriously, somebody needs to go on a beautification patrol, and there were so many people in there. They had to open up several flight training rooms and stuff like that. People everywhere, and the wait staff was running all over the place. So you ever get a chance, they have a buffet for $8 at on Wednesdays. It wasn't Wednesday. I can't remember what I paid. They went around asking the table, ages, and we got. I believe I paid $19 for that buffet. And anyway, I don't know why I'm telling that ridiculous story nobody cares about, but I got home and I had a chance to, on the road, listen to some news in preparation for today's ramblings. And once again, we're on another deadline. Trump's got another deadline coming up. Tuesday, we're now destroying infrastructure. By the way, such is a war crime. Just so you know, that's what we accuse other people of engaging in, war crime. Some people are straight up calling what Trump and Netanyahu are doing as genocide. Now, I happen to agree as far as it relates to taking out layers and layers of leadership, targeting people. That is, in my humble view, and I know that here in America, we've been trying to make it acceptable that this is how you engage in diplomacy. This is how diplomacy is played, but it's not. The fact is, it is a war crime to blow up people's infrastructure. And you can go back and look, find out who started it. Find out who's, not that, oh, gee, he started it, Mom. Not that that's the big question. But from a legal perspective, if you are reacting, it's a hell of a lot better than being the guy aggressing, being the aggressor. And American Aggressor, would be another good Schwarzenegger movie. We just call it American Aggressor, and we can have Donald Trump all buffed out like with him and Pete Hegseth, all buffed out, hanging out with Lindsey Graham and Netanyahu, but yet Netanyahu and Lindsey Graham are the puppeteers. They're the puppet masters, and that's depressing, and that is truly depressing. I watched a press conference, no, I'm sorry, Senate. It was some kind of Senate hearing where they're asking Hegseth to justify the eight military generals that he's gotten rid of, and he couldn't. He just said, and all he says is, I have the bigger appendage. That's it. They serve at the pleasure of the president, and I get to decide what the pleasure of the president is. So I'm firing them. That's it. And in a wartime, okay, this is clearly a problem that we aren't even addressing remotely enough, is that we've got people up there on personal vendettas. Hegseth through not being, I don't know what, not being in charge in some land deal when he was a soldier himself, and now he's in charge, and by God, he's going to let you know it. And it's frustrating, but very real. And Donald Trump, who wears his heart on his sleeve everywhere he goes, and everything he's doing is because of the wrongs that he received at the hands of those who were using the government as their own tool. And just like the Obaminator who said elections have consequences, we are seeing what those consequences are now. But both versions of abuse of government power, or maybe, let's say it's not an abuse of the government power because you have the power, but let's call it instead the use of government to clear the table of all of the past wrong deeds that were done to you. That'd be like giving me charge of the Missouri bar and me, instead of fixing the system, targeting each of the people who came after me, destroying Sam Phillips, who's a bad man, destroying him instead. That's nonsense. That is not the use of government. And I too have problems with the fact that the people who really deserve it rarely are brought to justice. I have a serious problem with that, because if you control the shackles of power like these juveniles do, the result is horrific. No, it's equally horrific when it's some incompetent and you don't even know who's finger puppeting the president, like it was under Biden. Oh, Biden, I love it. We should put an O in front of him, call him Biden, because a lot of people believe that the Obaminator was directing traffic, and that's a scary version. As the same with Hillary Clinton. Those are scary things, and most of us, I like to consider myself in the realms of the average American. I almost said normal, but I'm not sure I want to call myself normal. Who have no idea where real news comes from, have no idea what the truth is, because the power brokers determine not what the truth is, but what the narrative is. And you have to decide for yourself what the truth is. And my little lecture today is to pull your own heads out of your own asses if you still support the genocidal tendencies of things that are going on in the Middle East right now. Israel is not a friend of America if they are dragging us in. But it's even worse if we're not going in kicking and screaming, and instead are going in as willing participants. And now we're straight up in a war that none of us have any interest in, or didn't until Trump already said we were doing it. And then they go, yeah, we've been meaning to get those guys for 40 years. You know what? This is stupid and moronic. And I'm telling you, it the way this is, it keeps me up at night watching in my mind the visions of Netanyahu pushing a button and sending a nuclear weapon, sending over a nuclear bomb. He's the most likely, although I'm definitely frightened of our morons, So one of them suggested, here's how you fix it. Was it freaking Graham? One of them suggested, get this moronic, stupid. These guys are saying, and they know nothing about nuclear power if they know this. So this is, you know what we'll do? We'll stick a nuke down on the bed of the sea in Hormuz, and we'll open that channel right up. Yeah, geez, how about we blow up Oman? How about you get rid of some of the places in there? Oh, no, you can control those. No, you can't. And now what we did in inventing occurred all the time. Remember, friends and neighbors, I was at the Nevada nuclear test site. I am a product of radiation. And still would like to know how much the government subjected me to without me really knowing any better. Oh, here, put this dosimeter on. We'll keep track of those numbers. Anything ever comes up, we'll let you know. But make sure you get a new one every month because we got to keep track of you. And you get a new dosimeter. And don't go around radiating the country, Mr. Trapp, or Sergeant Trapp back then. Don't go around radiating the country. We got to keep an eye on you. We have a place for you, that kind of thing. These people are nuts. And so why do I not get my news from I read various targets. I watch other things, and I believe that is extremely necessary at this point. What people are being told from both sides of the equation, because by the way, in America, there are only two sides. You either got to hate Trump or you got to love him, and there's no in between. But I'm here to tell you, call me a tweener, because I'm in between. And as far as the national views, I used to be pretty much supportive, seriously, and pretty much, I'm methods. All right, everybody's methods suck. The method of opening the freaking borders on the first day of Joe Biden's administration was a punch in the face to America. That was just a ridiculous use of the power. But it's equally horrific to build a 900-foot wall and go, never the two shall meet. America is built upon immigration and always has been, bringing people in. Now, that doesn't mean we open up the doors willy-nilly. Apparently, there was some news yesterday of they took Soleimani, I forget which one, took his niece and her mother into custody in New York or something, and are going to deport them. But now there's news coming out that they aren't even sure who it is. They don't have any idea who they arrested. Doesn't matter. Let's give the masses something to chew on. Let's say we collected some person we don't like and stole their family. What are you doing in America? And we threw them out the door. All right. Well, optics. None of this is about truth. None of this is about a realistic American view. So I wanted to contrast for you today two speeches, okay? One is the press secretary for Sergei Lavrov in Russia, and her name is Maria Zakharova, and I like watching her anyway. And she gets increasingly it's like me. You say, I'm at a loss for words. It's really sad that we have to say this all the time because things are going on and you're going, oh my God, how are they going to justify that? How, what are they going to sell me now to get me on board with this war in Iran somehow? After you terminate all the generals, Hegseth has on his JV gear. He's ready to go. He is ready. Coach, put me in, coach. That's him. Meanwhile, across the world, we're playing chess. We have on the board, we have Xi Jinping, we have Vladimir Putin. We have whichever level of Iranian leader they're going to look at next, because Trump's just going to kill them all. And that's supposed to be acceptable to us. We just kill our terrorists. Yep. So was narco-terrorist Maduro, right? That is gone now. Nobody knows a thing about that. Narco-terrorism. Yep. That's what it is. It's oil terrorism, friends and neighbors, in the other direction. And there's no doubt that that's what it is. Oh, we're opening it up, and guess what we did? We gave that oil to Shell. We gave that oil to BP. Anybody in the West, they get the oil. Not those assholes down in Venezuela. Not Xi Jinping. Why are we giving him Venezuelan oil? I don't like that, and I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message. That's it. And it makes no sense. It's stupid. And then you justify it by saying, "Oh, gee, that's all right. They were engaged in narco terrorism. Didn't you see all those little mini boats that we blew up? We don't know who was on them because we blew them up, but they're gone." And that's the view of terrorism, right? Now we're doing the same thing. Some nameless, faceless, dusty place called Iran that none of you could pick. I shouldn't say that. No, people can't pick out on a map. They wouldn't know where it is. In the Straits of Hormuz, until you've started 2 months ago, you never heard of it and didn't know what it was doing. Unless you listen to International Flavor, because I told you about the efforts of the Chinese and the Iranians and the Russians and everybody else, including the Europeans, to get around the Straits of Hormuz because of just this problem. And they have been building ports in Iran. The biggest port in Iran is run by who? What did I tell you about that months ago? There's a contract for 10 years. It's run by India. It's run by Indian engineers, Indian government, and it's one of the largest ports around. And China built it. India runs it. Iran benefits from it, and they're building railroads to go through it, so you don't have to worry about Straits of Hormuz. Don't have to worry about choke point. Meanwhile, we got Lindsey Graham and company, and I don't know if it was him specifically. I really don't remember. Going, well, geez, just put a nuke down there and blow it up. Blow it up. Good plan. Yeah, good plan. Are you gonna build a causeway between America and Canada by putting a nuclear bomb in the Great Lakes? I mean, it's okay. That's not our part of the world. We don't give a crap. Well, obviously we don't give a crap because Donald Trump just gave 48 hours to say, well, we're going to blow up all of your infrastructure. We're going to blow up all of your electrical networks, everything, because we're going to bring Iran to its knees. Now imagine somebody doing that in the reverse. Let us say that 10 years from now, Call him. I don't know. Let's come up with a nice name. Xi Jinping. We'll pick somebody else. Next leader of some huge country on the other side of the planet, because we don't want to say it's China, right? We don't want to say it's India. Nobody over there, but some other country with more money, more power, more brains than ours. And they come over and say, all right, here's what we're gonna do. I tell you what. Where you will capitulate. America, capitulate. It's we like Canada better, and you're going to capitulate. We're going to get rid of all those buildings in downtown Washington, D.C., and we're going to install my friend, Biff. My friend Biff is going to be in charge of America. Why? Because I'm the U.S. I'm the president of the world. I get to pick who's the leader, and I get to exchange who I want willy-nilly. Okay? And who runs the government, America, doesn't matter anyway. In all truth. To most of us Americans, nobody gives a rip. They just want to be left alone and allowed to watch their football games on Friday. Or in the case of those of us who went to Illinois, the Final Four, and watch our team get the crap kicked out of them. Not really. It was a good game. In the Final Four. This is the American dream, right? We want to be left alone. Well, they want to be left alone. Do you think they're ever going to capitulate after all this? Just take it from a realistic point of view. Imagine you're in a country that has existed for 5,000 years. You have history and culture that goes back endless. I mean, endless. It goes back. A rich and beautiful culture that just thinks differently than you do in America. We think differently. There's no doubt. And if you ever got your travel shoes on and went somewhere else and appreciated the beauty of variety, God and Allah, guess what they love? Wondrous variety. That's what they love. And when we get a look around, I almost brought home a young African-American girl. I was so taken by her from the horse races. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun running around, placing stupid bets on stupid horses, and just run around having a good time. And there's nothing wrong with it. No, I wouldn't bring her home. I'd be a little more sensible than that. But it would be, you meet all kinds of cool and interesting people. And if you approach it from the point of view of that, I mean, that's small time. That's small. That's your own personal life. And if I choose to run around with the four, and I'd say sisters, they were sisters, but if I choose to run around with four sisters and having a great deal of fun, why not? And it was a lot of fun. And you know, people stand there and they're placing bets on horses. It was a joy to be there. And by the way, what is life supposed to be about? Is it supposed to be about, geez, let's blow up Iran? We don't give a shit. You know, we don't want to blow up Iran. I don't want to blow up the people. I don't want Netanyahu blowing up the people. And maybe people say, well, gee, that Sam hasn't put enough time into this and he doesn't understand. They might get nuclear weapons. Who cares? Pakistan's got nuclear weapons, for God's sake. India's got them. And worst of all, Israel's got them, and they won't even admit it. They won't admit it because they don't want to be, and they're the only ones not bound, not the only ones, but they will not be bound by non-proliferation. They will not do it. If they want to take over Lebanon and they want to do something, by God, they're going to do it, and Donald Trump's going to get in line and help them because, you know, hey, man, those are our nuclear weapons. You may have helped us get them back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, made sure that we got them, but we use them how we want. We will attack Iran, and by God, you better follow us because we're your best friends in the Middle East. Yeah, friends like that. Who the flip needs enemies? We as Americans need to change the way we're thinking. And part of that includes listening to the other side, because nobody does. And I am going to twist it just a little bit. What do you think all those Americans would do if they're attacked? You know, is it existential to us? Does it mean it's an us or them kind of scenario? Wouldn't you personally, I know I would, somebody came to attack what's mine, what would I do? I don't care if I'm 90, you know, I'm still going to do what I can for the effort, right? What do you think Iran's doing right now when they hear our president say, posted in Truth Social, idiocy as far as the means of communication with the masses by a president? Somebody get him to shut up. 30 days. Shut up. How about that? And quit talking about the destruction you're going to rain upon the world because, by God, you're in charge. And shut Lindsey Graham up, too. You know, just shut him up. And do nothing for 30 days. Then I'll feel much better if at the end of that 30 days you see aggression from Iran. Then, okay, maybe I'll consider doing something, you know, committing American lives to destroying a region that nobody cares about, or dying for same. For what? It ain't democracy. It is not democracy. And if you're fighting for democracy, you got problems anyway. You know, do that in your homeland. Who are we to dictate to the rest of the world democracy? So if the war ever came to you, well, that's a different story altogether. The war is on their doorstep. For Israel, this is not a, what do you call it? A necessity, the war of necessity. This was a war of choice. And for us, it is a war of choice. And I am against wars of choice where we go in, there ain't no threat. They just have the same old standard a-holes doing the same old standard thing. And the rest of the world is laughing up its sleeve at us, including people from England, France, leaders, okay? They're not on board. Watching the alliances of America fall apart and be, I don't know what, independent, or at least think on their own, is quite new, quite novel, because everybody always just followed along with America. And especially if you were one of the vassal states of Europe, you just followed along. And that's not happening. That is not happening. So I wanted to do a comparison of how people, how rhetoric, because it's rhetoric, there's no doubt. And I picked two governmental channels. It would have probably been more fair, but Donald Trump is more fun to look at because of his, I don't know, I suppose the best way to call it would be speech patterns, the way he talks. Everything I have is the greatest. Everything you have is crap. That's it. And that's the way he talks. And you know what? Everybody knows it. He's been doing it. He's been doing it forever. And he's a bulldog. He's a bulldozer. He's a tank. Going one direction, and give him a mission. But unfortunately, the strategic thinking, I think, is off. That's what I think. I think he's either there's some things, or he's got completely the wrong advisors. Absolutely. Meanwhile, here's Maria Zakharova. So we're going to do her speech first. This is public speech, long speech. I listened to it all. I muddled through it. I listened to it all because this was not just a press briefing. This is a carefully layered performance, and how they put things together. They got a team over there, because when you watch her, every speech, every appearance, and they do it every Friday. April Fool's Day was the last one, and I think that was actually Thursday, but usually it's on Fridays, or maybe it's only because I can download them on Fridays. I don't know, but I try to keep track of that. It's a world view, but it's never just a press briefing. It's a political, I don't know what, performance by a very good person. She's talking about the calendar. She's enforcing the narrative. She's accusing, taking moral positions one way or the other. She's saying what the proper answer is going to be for their own public to listen to. And then she's emotionally getting the audience on board with the next steps, that, oh, gee, we have to do this. Don't think that our people aren't doing the same thing. They're just failing miserably at doing it. But that's been politics forever. And that was definitely the Soviet Union. That's how it used to be. With press briefings by State Department for us. Now we have clear morons, dictating war. That's it. And people are buying in. The people that are buying into this war as necessary, they got problems. And because now all it is, well, we can't lose. We started it. We can't lose. Get on board. We started it. It was a mistake to start it. We didn't think about it properly, but guess what? We have to continue because now we're in. And the answer otherwise would be, geez, we lost again. We lost again. Well, we lost again because we have more idiots sitting on the triggers. And they're not thinking before they're acting. If they didn't understand the Straits of Hormuz concept, that is frightening in and of itself, that these guys had no clue. And truly, the more I watch this, the more I understand that these people have no clue what they're doing. Hegseth, that guy has no idea. That guy, coach put me in, that's too bad your last quarterback broke his leg right before the game started. But I got you. I'll do whatever you say, but I'll never question you. That's a bad leader right there. That guy is not level, ready for the next play. He thinks he's it. He thinks he is the star of the show. He's not, and you certainly don't. You know what the sign of a good leader is? And if you never went to military school, okay, I had a very, very good first sergeant. And you know what he told me one day? He brought me in, and this is God's truth, and this is a military that will succeed, because I tell you what, I said the exact same thing to my little troopies several years later, and when I was running 120 little troopies of my own, and told them what they would do, and he brought me in, and he said, Sergeant Trapp, he goes, look here, I want to promote you. But I want to promote you, but you're a little bit, I don't know what. He said, you need to think more, talk less. Think more, talk less. You ask questions that are relevant, but you're getting a reputation. You know, and it's like, well, yeah, well, somewhat deserved. And by the way, I've sharpened it over time. And not that, but I took his words to heart, and I absolutely listened, because he's right. And so here's what a good organization, a good military is built upon. People that might question, but stop, question, provide alternatives, and then accept what the boss says. If the boss has listened to all the alternatives, you disagree, but he made the decision. The military is built upon engaging as directed, questioning professionally, of course, but once the decision is made, understanding your point, understanding your place in the system. And Hegseth don't get his place. Donald Trump doesn't even get his place. Those are two guys who are using their places to let everybody know that elections have consequences. They are just as bad as Obama when doing so, though. But the first sergeant said to me, he goes, listen, I will never, ever ask you to do something that I haven't done myself, and probably even today couldn't do better than you. And he said, and your job in the Army, Sergeant Trapp, is to make leaders like you. He said, you have potential. You need to identify that potential and put it into the use of the military, and perhaps have that person go to the next level. You also got to identify the dipshits and push those dipshits out of here. That's the job of a strong organization. He goes, Sergeant Trapp, you can never, and this is the problem with bureaucracy, okay? He said, you can never, ever push people down like a bureaucrat does. There, you need to identify those that are smarter than you and surround yourself with them. That's what you need to do. He goes, you don't need all the answers. You need to know where to fucking find them. And that's where you find them. You find and identify key and good people down below, and you bring them up. That's what you do. In Obama, in Trump 1, certainly in O'Bidenator, now I can combine all my names for him. Certainly in O'Bidenator, and absolutely in this second term of Trump, this is nothing but a free-for-all. I'm bringing in my buddies. I'm bringing in the Fox News hosts that spoke well of me on the air. And gee, he happened to be in the military before, so why don't we put him in charge? Who's in charge? That guy, the JV quarterback. Bullshit. That's not how you pick people. What the hell? He obviously was not in the military if he thinks that the right answer is to get rid of 8 generals on the eve of battle or going into war. What the hell's wrong with you? It's nuts. And if Trump thinks that's the way to play, finding a bunch of yes men and sticking them in. Hello, Hillary Clinton. Same friggin' thing. Just, it's There's a play between this. You have to ease your way through it. And I'm telling you, I am almost despondent over this and just waiting, because now we just have to prove who's got the bigger wiener. That's it. That's all we're doing right now. Straits of Hormuz. How about Trump the other day? Truth Social. Open the effing straits. Oh, yeah. This is genius. This is it right here. This is genius. So when you listen to people that somewhat make sense, or at least understand how the game is played, you should probably pay attention. And thus the speech of Maria Zakharova that she went through. Then we're going to get into the Donald Trump one, okay, after that. So Zakharova's got a plan. There used to be President, I was having a discussion with somebody the other day, and please don't punch me for this, because it's really not even, it's actually worse than that, because maybe in my lifetime, maybe one or two presidents in my lifetime appeared presidential. Somebody that is presidential. Somebody that brings me calm, saying that somebody's got the wheel and I don't have to worry about my sons or my grandchildren being sent to the front lines as meat puppets. We don't, it's. I haven't felt that in a long time, that, oh, yeah, everything's going to be okay. No, it's not. It is not going to be okay. The bulk of Americans are out digging bunkers in their backyard and stuffing it full of dried food and buying food dehydrators and putting them in their garage and trying to figure out how to make their own water desalination, water purification plants for us, to dig a well on their property. Something that ain't going to, and putting up solar panels. The energy's going to be, we got to figure out how to get along without the government, because they're cocking this all up, and they really are. And it's terrible. So the short truth is, the rest of the world is just sitting back and watching and rubbing their, what do you think Xi Jinping is doing on his chessboard? And Vladimir Putin on his chessboard. Mark Carney, for God's sake, has his own chessboard. You think that the Iranians, the Qataris, don't have chessboards? I guarantee you Netanyahu's got his little chessboard, but his checkers board, more and more I get to thinking of the image, and it's this pretty powerful image for me. I'm thinking I might figure out how to create it today with the use of AI, is create some picture with Xi Jinping, Modi, Putin, and whichever Khomeini is in charge now. Maybe they're 3-4 levels down. Put them on the one side playing chess and all, gazing with their arms crossed, looking down on the board and assessing the board. And over on the other side, you got Netanyahu. Who else? Oh, Lindsey Graham. Netanyahu and Graham. This is horrific. With puppet strings on Hegseth and Donald Trump on their side of the checkers board. So you checkers board, and there's Hegseth, subordinate to the Trump. So Trump's puppeting Hegseth, but being puppeted by Graham and Netanyahu, and their checkers board looks like Iran on one side, and the rest of the world is calmly watching what's going on and not getting involved. You got people like is it Perez from Spain? You have Macron in his speech that he gave in South Korea. I believe it was a commencement ceremony that he was talking to him about beating up on what the U.S. is doing. And then, that's just becoming a pretty powerful image for me. I'm going to figure out how to make it. So, but let's see. Zakharova, her thing started with Belarus and the unity and the anniversary of their framework of international order, legitimacy, continuity, and civilized statecraft. That thing came up several times. And then, she talked about, we have partners. We've had partners. They talked about Xi Jinping and 30 years of partnership, talked about Modi and the increasing importance of India in the Eurasian sphere, which is absolutely true. They talked about Iran and the idiocy of what's going on over there. And then after she talks about how normal things are from their end, she goes to the true center of gravity, the foolishness of the Ukraine war. Do you know Donald Trump put his $1.5 trillion budget together and there ain't a nickel in it identified for Ukraine? 26 is the last of it. They don't have any money, and I'm for that if it occurs. They need to be cut off ages ago. But Ukraine, Bucha, remember that? Anti-Russian propaganda everywhere, censorship all over Europe, pressure and deportation of Russian journalists, Moldova and the foolishness and stupidity being pushed by NATO militarization without the U.S., Iran, sanctions, and the most important, the moral collapse of the West. Morally, all it is power. We are power mongers. That's it. We're bigger. We're baddest. So if we want Greenland, by God, we're going to take it. If we want the Panama Canal, we want to kick China out of the Panama Canal, we're gonna. If we want to take leaders from other countries and either usurp them and make them ours, like we did in Venezuela, and give all of their capital to we nationalized Venezuela and Venezuelan oil. That doesn't bother anyone, that apparently not. And the structure of this matters. What Russia is saying. We have colleagues, we have partners, we have friends. What do you got? What do you got? Seriously. Lackeys. And, lackeys surround us. And then we are the lackeys of Netanyahu and company in the scary version, right? And that's pretty scary. I'm frightened, or I wouldn't be telling you this stuff. And I'm not frightened, but I'm telling you what, I think it's more likely than not when you have idiots saying, geez, blow up Straits of Hormuz with a big nuclear, put it in there in the bottom, and it'll open that thing wide open. Yeah, well, it's, Oman, nobody cares. Let's Straits of Trump built with a nuclear weapon. It's foolish. Nuts. So her speech is not random. She talks about domestic, shared history, culture, reform on television, youth festivals, focusing on what's important, growth of children, regional cooperation, education, huge, and guess what? She spent a long time talking about memory, history, where we came from. We're not allowed to remember where we come from. Somebody told me while we were driving yesterday, come across that, what do they call it? The rock, the huge rock between Columbia and St. Louis. That he said the history of it is that people want to get rid of this rock because they sold slaves on that rock 200-300 years ago. Why are we getting rid of it? You getting rid of a rock? You're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get rid of a rock? Why? Because somebody sold slaves there? I mean, Jesus Christ, how far back do we have to go to find a place, just keep going back and back and back to find something that we disagree with and destroy it? That's what we've done in Ukraine. We go back and we tell them that, and we make sure that all their children are educated that the big problem was not Nazism. It wasn't Russia defending the world and itself against Nazism. No. It was the West came in and stopped Russia. The aggressor wasn't even Germany. Wasn't Hitler. Who's Stalin? That's what people are being sold. It's bullshit. Pardon my French, but it's nonsense. Here the truth cannot be told because the truth is frightening, or the truth doesn't fit in with our narrative. We can't talk about that. We gotta tell them how all of this was all driven by Stalin, every bit of it. And Stalin is what? He's a Russian. Oh my God, he was Russian. He's actually Georgian, but so what? That part never enters into it. These people do. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fit the narrative. We don't talk about it. If there's a slave rock where somebody sold a slave 200 years ago, we got to blow it up. Well, Jesus, why don't we go blow up the White House? There were slaves in there. It wandered through, right? There were people that all over the place. George Washington, we're supposed to hate him. Jefferson, we're supposed to hate them too. This is foolish. Anyway, I'm ranting like a mofo today. One of the things she talked about is this memory thing. Is she obsessed with who gets to define the past? Because remember, that's what they say the West is doing everywhere. If you can define the aggression as narco-terrorism, you can define what the West chose to do in the form of Donald Trump and a JV quarterback as necessary because they may have gotten a nuclear weapon. Who the hell's the aggressor? Seriously. I mean, seriously. Think about that. Bucha, the part where this is not merely a disputed event, but a fabricated story. This wasn't, it's not even remotely true. If you go and look at what Bucha's where the Ukrainians went and laid out bodies on the street and took a video. I mean, it is propaganda 101. And then they took a video. The Russians had left 4 or 5 days earlier and turned it over to them. And they took bodies, some of Russian soldiers, and displayed them on the ground, took pictures of them, and said, look what Russia did. And it was disgusting then. It's disgusting now. And now it is clearly a lie. And how many times in our past in America do you look at things that have clearly been a lie and outlined to you later, but you still hold on to the history? You still hold on to it being the narrative because the narrative is so ingrained into your head that you refuse to see the truth. In the Middle East, certainly that is the case. We just keep on jumping from country to country to country and causing problems and destroying regimes and sitting on them. If Qatar went the other way, they'd be no different. If they weren't selling things to us and making fantastic wealth, they wouldn't be, which country was it that gave Trump the $400 billion plane? That wouldn't be happening. They're buying him off. Anyway, her language was not cautious. They didn't talk about, as I do not, possible manipulation of the facts or inconsistencies. They call it insensirovka, which is incensing the public. Insensirovka. Podlog, which means you creating a false foundation, a false foundation of something, or krvavi farce. It's a blood for the masses, like what do they call it here in America? Krvavi farce would be, a blood for to get the wolf on the hunt. Throw some meat to them to get them jazzed up, or just straight up lies. She wasn't nibbling at the edges. She was, and she's right to do so. Destroyed the legitimacy of Bucha completely. There are many right now, Western even, tales of, when they go over documentaries that outline what and how it happened. Same thing with Nord Stream 2. Same thing with all of the the basis of us creating a 1 million man army or assisting, funding, training, being on the ground with advisors, most of them Western money, creating a 1 million man army to get the real jewel, which is not Ukraine. The real jewel is Russia. Well, Russia ain't giving up its jewels, and Ukraine shouldn't have. And now they've lost them completely because they aren't even on the menu next fiscal year when money starts rolling out of the Pentagon. Lindsey Graham is allegedly, so get this, now the team going to Istanbul, I think, is where they're picking the next round of talks. Guess who's going to be there? 3-man team. They probably got some flunkies traveling along with them. But guess who now? This tells you how far the Trump team has fallen. Okay, we have Jared Kushner, we got Steve Witkoff, and Lindsey freaking Graham. What in the world is Lindsey freaking Graham doing on a negotiation team headed to Ukraine on behalf of America's positioning? He's a freaking senator from South Carolina. What the hell? It's not remotely in his job to be Trump's man. Witkoff was supposed to be his man. You know, they were at least partners in real estate. You know, his nephew or what, son-in-law, whatever he is. The other guy, okay, I dislike both of those. You know, where's a professional negotiator in the group? You know, a professional diplomat. Sorry about that. Where is one? They don't have one. Nope. It's a blind leading a blind. And it's terrible. And they're not going with the purpose to, I mean, I hope they get peace. But they obviously don't understand the impetus behind it, and they don't in Iran either, because it's continuing. So Zakharova spoke about those things. And the same framework is about the Ukrainian deputy Natalia Pipa and her anti-Soviet memory struggle, you know, and what they're putting. She's tying today's Ukraine directly to Stepan Bandera, which I do too, because that's who they honor. You know who Stepan Bandera was? He was an ally of Hitler in the Ukraine. He killed 120,000 Poles. The Poles hate him, but they can't say anything because then you're you're pro-Russia. If you say anything, suddenly you're not beaten up sufficiently on Russia. Suddenly you're talking about things that matter to you, but by God, you better not say anything because it might mess up the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is we have to show that it was Stalin who was trying to take over the world. Stalin had the opportunity to take over the world, especially post World War II, right afterward, Bretton Woods. And he didn't. He could have. They were definitely the most powerful militarily, and they were just coming off a massive victory against the German forces. They could have continued rolling. If Russia wanted France so bad, or wanted Europe so bad, why didn't Stalin just keep on rolling? America couldn't have put up with it. America only lost 600,000. Russia had 26 million, and they were totally in. They lost 26 million people. 26 million people. We lost 600,000 and were involved in the war for a year and a half, 2 years, active. But Russia had been involved since 39, 38. You know, it's nonsense. They could have taken over France then if they wanted it. They didn't want it. They went back. So to now claim that history doesn't exist is deceitful. It's just as bad as taking a slave rock and pretending it didn't happen and not telling people it was there. So the West is structurally deceitful because they just tell these lies to their own people and, worse yet, to the world who really knows the truth. And that's all. Media, non-government organizations, the UN, human rights structures, the bureaucracy everywhere, academia, the sanctions people who try to force you to do something, and then the broad information warfare everywhere. Nope. It's the classic information wars. And Ukraine is a terrorist, according to her, not merely adversarial. And I believe Ukraine is very much so. Drone strikes, civilian casualties, they're doing the same thing that America is now. Donald Trump says tomorrow he's doing this. If he's doing this tomorrow, that is the end of America as we know it. That is not how we engage in warfare. It's not what we do. It's not what we're supposed to do. That ain't the America that I remember. We don't go in and destroy. What does he want to destroy? Desalination plants, power facilities, nuclear and standard coal, whatever, electrical, hydro, any of them. They're going to destroy all their... We're going to bomb you back to the Stone Ages. I mean, let that sink in. We're going to bomb you back to the Stone Ages. Why? Because you're Muslim. That's it. Why? Because Netanyahu is afraid that someday you might get a nuclear bomb. Yeah. You can do that. Pakistan has already got a nuclear bomb. You going to do that in North Korea? Somebody who's already got a bomb? Nope. I mean, hell, even Ukraine's running around. Poland's running around going, man, we need to get us some nuclear bombs. We need some nuclear bombs because somebody's going to do this to us one day. Look what's happening over there in Iran. Look what they're doing to Iran. They are destroying a 5,000-year society, 5,000-year empire. A historical empire. I mean, obviously... Iran's a rich culture. You may not agree with it, but it's certainly a rich culture. I didn't agree with Grozny. I still went to Chechnya and checked out the history of it all. I don't agree with everything that went on in Georgia. Georgia's beautiful, and has a great history. I mean, it's beautiful stuff. Does that mean it needs to be a NATO vassal? What kind of crap is this? Religious persecution is happening right now all over Ukraine. And by the way, all over, this is what are we fighting for? Religion right now. The Netanyahu, we're talking, the Netanyahu dream is, Moses, Moses led the slaves out of bondage, whatever it was, 3,000 years ago. And by God, I'm Netanyahu, and now I can make sure that it sinks in because I got some fools across the sea who are willing to do it for us. We don't even have to do it. We have Big Brother on our side. And here he is. Here's my puppet master, Netanyahu. There we are. They're taking over monasteries and ransacking them all over Ukraine. History that's been around for thousands of years. They're taking these icons and seizing them. They're creating, in her words, spiritual vandalism. They're taking the patriarchs and arresting them. Because why? Because they say the same biblical thing. This is what's going on in Ukraine. That's what they're doing. And so Russia is doing what? They're fighting an existential threat to who they are. That's what they're fighting. You can agree or disagree. But guess what? That's the same thing that Iran is doing right now. And trust me, they're going to continue. Just because you say you got 48 hours, last time we had 5 days. The one before that was 2 weeks. How long is this war going to last? It's gone a hell of a lot longer than they said it was gonna. And, let's contrast her speech with... Well, what's she trying to accomplish? She wants to talk about the broader framing, but the bigger is more accusatory, right? Ukraine isn't an independent, tragic case of aggression. It's a vehicle for a larger worldwide anti-Russian campaign. And Ukraine is losing that war because the West is losing that war. They still pump it every single day. But there are truth tellers out there that are telling you what's going on. I'm one of them. And I'm telling you, it's the Bucha. I mean, go. You want to figure it out for yourself without listening to me? Go and watch the Bucha narratives and the attack on the Western media, the rituals of how they give a blood scent to the pack to make them think that a war in Iran or Ukraine is in our best interest. Okay, check that out. Check out Bucha. That is where the blue and yellow flags came from, because too non-analytic people just took it as gospel, and it wasn't remotely true. How about Europe's silence, Western silence on Orthodox persecution, Russian Orthodox persecution, the anti-Russian language policies all across. You're not allowed to do it in Lithuania. Nobody will speak to you, and the policy is worse in Ukraine. You can't speak Russian in a school. And they all speak Russian. The militarization of NATO. They intend to be at war with Russia by 2030. Idiocy. Energy hypocrisy. Do you realize who the only liquid natural gas supplier is left for Europe? They've destroyed everything else. Qatar's last shipments, there are 2 more ships showing up, and those are Qatar's last 2 liquid natural gas shipments to Europe, and they'll be in on Wednesday, and that's it. That's the end of the line. And the energy war that is going on means that Europe can either buy from Russia, which would be easy, simple, cheap, but they won't, or pay double to triple, so some say up to 6 times as much for liquid natural gas coming from the United States. If you think that's positive, all right, maybe it is for us, for now. But pretty soon there are going to be shortages, and who's going to get cut off first? They're already doing it. Russia's pushing that game. Iran is pushing that game, closing the straits because they can survive it longer than we can. And by the way, all the oil is underneath their ground. The U.S. has some, but increasingly you're seeing them attempt to steal it from Iran. That's what's happening. They want to steal natural resources. That's what we did in Venezuela. Now you can, I'm a blunt kind of guy. There are other people that might be a little more pragmatic about it. I'm not. I'm blunt. It's she gave what she did is a narrative weapon for the Russians for sure. This tells the blunt truth. It's a well constructed speech. They have a purpose for this speech. That's what they do. This is a balancing system. This is something where they're trying to get the people on board and to understand why they're doing what they are doing and how and why it's important. She's given all the backdrop for why it's critical that Russia engage in what. Do you think people in Russia want to be at war with Ukraine? No, but they understand why they are, and they generally are supportive of the concept. They might not agree with the specifics. I mean, who does? They're smart, thinking people, but they, you have to they have to be thrown more than Netanyahu says Iran's going to create a nuclear weapon. First of all, who gives a shit if they do? So what? Then there'll be a threat to Israel, and Israel's not a threat to every one of its neighbors. Come on. They're the threat. Israel is the threat to the rest of the place over there. And so what I thought I would do would be, is we're going to look at old Trumpster. He gave a speech the day after, and I forget where. I've got it somewhere, but he had a full address. And if you take his speech and contrast it with Zakharova's, analytically, it's totally unfair because her speech was something else. Donald Trump, nobody can ever claim that he's got a master plan in his speeches. I believe he just says the first thing that comes to the mind and moves on. But Zakharova is pointing this out. She has the typical themes about Bucha, censorship, Ukraine, NATO, Iran, and the huge difference in rules for me, but not for thee. And Donald Trump embodies that. Donald Trump and the U.S. in general will happily tell everyone else what the rules are, but never engage in them, or apply them to themselves. They just won't do it. And Trump's speech is grave if you look at it in the blunt way that I tend to. It's the president justifying war, wrapped in, victory language. We've already won. Force. Well, we're going to kick the crap out of them. Punishment. We're going to destroy all their infrastructure. And finality. Yep, we're going to win, and that's that. We're going to defeat them, and you better get on board because you're next. If you don't, it's Operation Epic Fury, according to him. 1 month campaign of overwhelming success. Yep. If it's overwhelming success, why in the hell am I paying $4 a gallon for gasoline? Tell you what, 1 month. Well, okay, we're past a month now. We're well into the 5th week, right? Iran's Navy's gone. Oh, yeah? What about all the little mini subs I was telling you about? What about the mining of the bottom of the Straits of Hormuz? Why aren't your ships moving if the Navy's gone? Air Force, in ruins. Leadership, dead. We killed them all. And, now here's the promise. Here comes the promise. Why do you have to promise something if all this already exists? Absent a deal, the United States will destroy Iran's electrical grid and its oil infrastructure as well. He says, we have all the cards. They have none. We're going to send them back to the Stone Age. That's it. And there are people there cheering. Yeah, this is great. It's not great. It's a strategic intimidation is all this is intimidation broadcast as some sort of reassurances for Americans. You shouldn't be reassured. You should not be reassured by this speech. If this is your bastion of hope, you got problems because this is not hope. This is anti-hope. This is the furthest thing from hope that you can imagine. So Trump is normalizing annihilation of another people. He is normalizing genocide. He is normalizing what Netanyahu's doing all around Israel. Pick a new country. Pick a new place. Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, just West Bank. Just pick one. We're going to own it all. We being Israel, not us. And then they're bombed. Anyway. Confidence. He wants to show you all the confidence. He's showing the confidence of an empire that assumes. He says it. He just comes right out and says it. That he has the right to decide who can have infrastructure, who can have systems of energy, who's allowed to own a military or even have a political regime, continuity. He says regime change was not the goal. Well, if it wasn't the goal, why did you blow the shit out of everybody individually and kill their kids? But immediately adds that regime change has in effect occurred because Iran's original leaders are all dead, and then he threatens to kill them too if Tehran doesn't comply. The tone isn't hesitant. It's not tragic. It's not even reluctant. It's like the bully on the block. Well, You might think you got a shot, but we'll see. I'm going to kick the crap out of you and anybody you bring in. That's it. So it's unpleasant to listen to a speech like that. So the seriousness of Zakharova's briefing was especially taken in light of Trump's, I don't know what, football coach cheering, "We can do it!" right before the game on Friday night is, tell you what, stark. The fact is, it wasn't answering a speech from the American president. Those things were somewhat contemporaneous. So I don't think they each listened to each other and then spoke, obviously. But he's talking about the destruction of states, further choking of energy transport lines, military eradication of bridges that have nothing to do with the military. They are the hubs of economy of Iran. You're making friends over there, right? And, it's this coercion leverage that he thinks he has. But I believe, as do many, many experts, that this coercion, this domineering attitude is the opposite of what is needed right now. You need a calm and reasonable person to at least recognize the situation as existential for Iran. Because what would happen if, remember the movie Red Dawn with Patrick Swayze? What would happen if the Chinese and the Russians paratrooped in millions of people, millions of soldiers into America to take it over from the inside? You'd have little pockets of Wolverines everywhere, wouldn't you? That are fighting. You'd have people fighting for their lives. That's what it's for. That's you think that Iran's not having the same thought process? You think they're not proud of their culture and who they are, where they come from? They are, I assure you. They are very proud of where they're from. So he's got all this triumphant, we've won, it's great. Whole campaigns reduced to the proof of his strength. Venezuela was described as, we did it in a matter of minutes. Yep, you did, and it was still wrong. Iran is described as effectively broken. We broke Iran in a month. Yeah, but you thought you were going to do it the day later. And they're still not broken. They're not going anywhere. We'll still be in this 20 years from now, even if you, quote, unquote, win. Or what about, there are people that say that he just goes out and declares victory, and then if we have victory, why are we still fighting? This all matters because once war is framed against competence, anyone opposing it must do more than just disagree. They have to restore some sort of moral gravity to what they're celebrating. There's no celebration on my end when Trump declared victory the other day and says that we're going to win. I mean, I don't want him going over and bombing historic sites in Iran or anywhere else. I don't want Ukraine blowing up churches or destroying them otherwise from the father, the patriarch on down in a church that's existed together with other people for hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years. That's what Trump's proposing in Iran. That's what they're proposing. You're going back to the Stone Age. Dead civilians, dead children, desecrated churches, persecuted, languages, false narratives. It's Trump's address is openly imperial, isn't it? Especially in energy logic. One of the most revealing parts of what Trump said isn't even the military language. It's the energy language. He tells countries dependent on Hormuz that you got to protect it yourselves Or you can just keep buying from us, the boastful Americans. You can buy it from us. We're the biggest, baddest thing. Now we control all the oil. And we don't give a shit about the Middle East. We got plenty of our own. And he suggests that the straits will open up naturally once Iran is broken, because Tehran will need to sell its oil to rebuild. So this isn't his strategy, or not only. It's energy imperialism said out loud. We control the energy. The subtext: Americans will decide what degree of destruction is acceptable, and others will absorb the market cost. We don't care. We don't need it anybody. You either support us, or your energy prices are going to go up one way or the other. Either you're not going to get it from Iran, and you'll be forced to get it from us, or you'll get it from Iran at an increased price because, it can't come through the Straits of Hormuz anymore. That's pretty straight up what he said. That, Americans are going to decide what degree of destruction is acceptable. Europeans, you wouldn't help. Therefore, we're going to destroy it, and you're screwed. Right? And the global oil order, the global dollar, the petrodollar, are going to rearrange around the U.S. capacity and U.S. leverage. And if you don't understand what's really going on, and you support this war, that this is a war against the yuan and people not using dollars, and the trillions of U.S. debt that have for years has been built upon the backs of the petrodollar and U.S. debt, we now have two legs of debt. Okay, Trump had three legs of his stool. Okay, you want the scary version? Here it is. This is scary, but think about this. Three legs of the Trump stool. First one is energy of America, right? Second one is energy around the world. Third one is the petrodollar. Okay, so and which is the petrodollar and the world-based currency and the backing of the growth of the United States economy by the fact that we finance everyone's growth around the world through the dollar system, through the dollar. All this goes back to the imperialism that have been gone on for generations. The Dutch East Indies Trading Company, the French, the Spaniards, the British, Americans now, and we are the last. Not the last. The last in this line of imperialists. And how did we build? How did England become so massively powerful? As they stole India, they stole Africa. France stole East Asia. France stole North Africa. Took all of that with their Russian language, with their dominance, with their military. They took them over. And, they're being booted out even now in some of these countries. Donald Trump knows all of this, and he is seeing it. And he also knows that nobody's buying U.S. debt anymore, and that the debt funding tree and the regime is coming to an end unless he does something drastic. So what does he do? He goes and takes over Venezuela and international oil, and his plan was, now I got Iran too, Xi Jinping. Those two things were going to help you, but now I control them. Now what? What are you going to do? Get rid of the yuan, you start trading in the dollar again, and we'll go back to being friends. You keep buying U.S. debt because we are on a cliff. And if we don't do something about U.S. debt, we're going to recognize quickly that cliff. And tariffs, by the way, those aren't helping, because now there's a fight to get the money. There are advertisements all over TV. I don't know if you are all over the internet. I mean, that if you paid tariffs and you want to get them back, call the firm of whoever, and this firm will help you get your tariffs back that you paid in, because the judge says they're illegal, and they'll have to give them back. So how are you going to give back these billions upon trillions of dollars and give that back when you have nobody funding the debt? All that's going to happen is we're going to print new bills. So think about this. You print the new bills, and what does that cause? Inflation. Too many in the thing, and not enough people that want them. They used to be able to hold them in the oil dollar. But Qatar isn't buying them. Saudi Arabia is not buying them. England's being forced to buy some, as are several other countries in the EU. So the people least capable and least situated to fund America for another generation, to kick this down the road so that Donald Trump can be the greatest president in history and restore all of this. But all it's really doing is kicking the ball down the road. Let's assume he gets what he wants. I'm telling you, people are already planning for what happens after the dollar. They're already planning it. Part of the attack on Venezuela and stealing the oil is because of the BRICS initiatives that they are talking. And those are the backdrops of what are important for Americans to know that they really don't know. So, at any rate, I'm going to end a tiny bit early today. I'd like to get some coffee, a little bit of milk, and I think I'm going to end it a little bit early. I appreciate you listening to the show. Hope that you listen every day. We've got some good stuff going on this week. I hope that on Civic Outlaws on Friday I'll have some serious news to report to you. Well, I know I will. Oh, by the way, I've been invited to participate tonight, and I plan to go and chat at the Encore, meet and greet some candidates, stuff like that. And I don't know. I don't know what the schedule is, if we're just doing some recordings and doing some live or not. I don't know, but I'm going to be there. And if you'd like to speak about this or any other issue or any of the issues facing candidates or anything like that, that's at Encore this evening. And I'm pretty sure JR will be talking about some of that. So we'll listen to his show and make sure we're all on the same, playing from the same sheet music. And if you ever want to, so we have Civic Outlaws every Friday, which you can get to civicoutlaws.com/podcast. Listen to all those episodes. You can go to internationalflavor.com and get my programs on this program from every morning. And I appreciate you listening. Invite you to participate some more. And hope you have a very fantastic week, starting with a beautiful Monday, even though it's pretty darn nipply out there. Oh, did I say nipple? Have a nice day.